Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. Today we're flying out the Mirage F1 on Contention's Cold War server, and we're using the AB9 Force feedback joystick base from Moza. I'm not in VR today because currently in the UK it is about 33 degrees, and honestly I think my face would melt off if I had a VR headset strapped to my face. So, keeping it easy. I also unfortunately couldn't get the replay track to work because an update for DCS dropped right bang in the middle of the footage being completed and then me going into editing it. And every time there's an update, it kind of screws up all the replay tracks, which is unfortunate. But we're carrying 4 bombs on the center station. They're 400 kilo SAMP 400s, and then we've got 2 rocket pods on the wings with 36 rockets in each, and we're carrying AIM-9Bs because this is an early Era 2 iteration of the Cold War server. So first port of call is going to be to get the rockets off. Idea being spam them at all the soft stuff in the centre of the FARP. And then a while back I actually figured out a bombing table for using the SAMP 400s and the Mark 83s because they're a similar weight and drag coefficient. So I'm going to see if I'm any good at still doing it because it's been a hot minute. I've really not flown the F1 in ages. Nice thing about using the force feedback base is that you can feel all the rockets rippling off. Doesn't help you aim them though. I've got 72, so there's really no need to be, sparing with them. That little vehicle as we passed over the top looked like a truck, so he can be our second victim. Well, I say second, more like 10th. But usually when you're doing a turnaround attack like this, you end up losing quite a lot of speed, and it's hard to gauge exactly how much of it you're losing because it's so difficult to keep eyes on like individual spec type targets on the ground in DCS that you have to either look away and find it again after checking your speed, or you just have to keep your eyes on it and get slow as you turn around. But with force feedback, I could actually retain the speed quite well through that because I could feel in the stick tension whether or not I was like getting slow or not. And as we finish that run, we're doing 550 knots. So we just ditched our ordnance. We're not going to get a chance to use the bombs because there is a phantom coming in. I do actually see him. I'm not sure if he can see me at this stage. We're hugging the deck just to make it harder for him. Lock him up because I was hoping for a gunshot in the head on, but it didn't really work out. As we roll around behind him, I'm going to take the radar back into search mode because I don't really want him or Jester to know that I'm here. I actually don't know for sure whether the Phantom's radar can, or RWR even, can even detect the F1's radar. I know a lot of things can't, but it seems that he is aware of me, so we just used the ACM mode again anyway. It's been ages since I flew this thing, and I'm not getting tone with the AIM-9Bs, and I'm not sure why. It takes me quite a long time to figure it out. So there is the status icon on the bottom to say that they're both active. You've got the 2 little triangles, you've got the 2 little circles, but there's no growl. And I think it's because prior to this, what I used to do is leave the F1 in like an air-to-ground mode all the time, so obviously I was just using rockets. So I just left it in the rocket mode, and the reason for that is that whenever you're not using the dogfight mode that puts the sidewinders on, it puts a static pipper on your hood, and I used to like to switch between dogfight mode and not, and then use the static gun sight set to 44 depression, because that's where the gun actually goes. So I find it really difficult to use the guns in this thing when you're not using the radar gun sight. So we did get some hits on his fuselage, like the sort of back end of it there, so I'm not sure if it really did much, but he seems to still be combat effective. So I'm going to keep rolling around him. But as it happens, the reason my sidewinders aren't working is because I still have an air-to-ground mode selected. It was my understanding prior to whatever change made this occur that the dogfight mode where the sidewinders are active was kind of like an override mode that would just work over the top of whatever other weapon you had selected, but it seems now that you actually have to deselect rockets or bombs before the sidewinders will function. And I haven't figured it out yet, so obviously we were forced to try and deal with this guy with guns. So using force feedback and combined with the fact that I already know that the F1 can outperform the Phantom in the 1 circle, I was actually pulling relatively hard to stay behind this guy. Obviously we got a few hits in, and he was trying to 1 circle me, so he got very, very slow. And our advantage meant that we actually retained enough energy to just kind of climb away. And I was going to just finish him off on the down leg here, but it becomes increasingly obvious that he's not going to make it out of that dive. Yeah. I just want to remind you that Pimax have an upgrade event running until the end of the year. If you have an existing VR headset, they will give you a discount for a Pimax Crystal Light if you can prove proof of purchase to them. So like, let's say you've got a MetaQuest 3. If you can show them the receipt, then you'll get money off a Pimax Crystal Light. And this does not mean that you have to give them your existing headset. You get to keep that as well. And they literally just make your Pimax Crystal Light costless. So if you're really, really after one, and you've already got a VR headset, then check out the upgrade link in the description. Really great idea might be to get your discount and then sell your existing headset, and then you quit in. You could probably knock more than half the price off a Pimax Crystal Light. Skipping ahead to the next one then. So there are actually 2 of them. They're about 3 miles apart. One of them is quite high, one of them is quite low. We spot the high guy first. We're carrying quite a lot of speed into this, and I'm hoping to sort of lead turn here and just drop him behind him. I've figured the sidewinders out now, so my hope was that this would be quite a quick kill, and even though I'm giving my 6 to the trailer here, I didn't think it'd matter because this guy seemed relatively oblivious. At least he did until I actually get behind him and then he starts pulling. So, the plan didn't really work out. But on the upside, force feedback feels like hacking. When it comes to dogfights like this, just checking my 6 to make sure the other guy isn't right behind me. Carrying ass loads of speed, I'm not going to try and turn with him because there's a second one, so I'm just going to boom up and get some separation in the vertical because he's not going to be able to follow me up when I've got this much of an energy advantage over him. And we're just going to go into a lazy left-hand right. We've got an altitude advantage, so we should be good. I've locked the slats up just so they don't slow me down unnecessarily. And the other one is now close to a similar distance. There he is. So I just entered this left-hand right until I got eyes on both. So we're now in a anti-clockwise turning circle with both of them. I lost the original one. So we're just going to keep following around to the left. EWR says they're both within 3 miles. Oh, there's the first one, look. This is working out pretty nice. So I was going to get a missile off here, but the bore sight is so small for the 9Bs that I just can't get tone. And in the meantime I close in so much that we just might as well kill him with guns. And again, don't know where the other one is, so we're just going to enter a left-hand right. Keep our eyes behind. Still got the slats locked up. Keeping the speed high, so I can feel the tension in the stick, and we're actually doing about 500 knots right now. The EWR reports on this server actually tell you what the speed of the contacts is, which I actually don't really like because I feel like it takes the skill out of reading into people's energy states. But I can see that this Phantom is doing like less than 450 knots, which is below his ideal rate, and I'm pushing above 500, which to be honest is probably a bit fast for mine as well, but it gives me wiggle room to pull a lot harder. Now even though I've got force feedback here and I can feel my speed, I don't have much of a frame of reference because I've not really flown the F1 too much, so I'm still quite often looking forwards just to sort of figure out what level of stiff stickness equates to what level of speed. So I was pulling a little harder there and the speed bled off to about 460. So now I've got some frame of reference for that area between 450 and 500. I just continue pulling around, and all the while in the AWR reports, this Phantom is getting slower and slower and slower. It's doing about 350 knots right now, which is danger territory. And although he did rate poorly, in a second he actually abandons the rate and starts to extend, which is actually the smart play. There he goes, look. And at this stage, because I'd been buzzing around with a lot of ordnance on for a while, I'd done that ground attack run, and then that first fight with the Phantom actually took quite a while. I'm actually chasing this guy down, and fuel is becoming a little bit of an issue. Now, I try and sidewinded this guy from range. It says he's about 2,000 yards away, so like just over a mile, nautical mile. But it doesn't make the transit, even though we're already quite fast. I just can't chase this Phantom down. I'm not going to catch him. I'm having to stay and burn it. We've got 400 kilos of fuel right now, and we've got quite a long way to go before we get back to base. So I'm just checking the range at the top of the hood. We're just about 2,000 yards. He's actually starting to claw away from me, so I just think, you know what, this is unsustainable. I'm never going to catch this guy. We're going to have to abandon it and head back to base. And the base we've got to get to is HOTAS, which is very far away. It's going to be like about 80 miles. Now as I turn around, I initially stay quite low because I want to break contact with the EWRs, because I'm not sure if he can see me on his reports or not. But they do have a line of sight restriction on this server. So the idea was to stay low, weave around the hills, and hope that if he did decide to turn around and chase me down, I'd basically be screwed because I just don't have the fuel to fight him anymore. But by staying low, I actually burned fuel at a much higher rate. So we were about 400 kilos, but at the minute we'll be pushing well below 150. And in a second, when I check, I've got about 80. And HOTAS must be at least 80 miles away. And there's no way on earth that I'm getting, you know, that level of fuel efficiency out of a fighter jet. So as soon as I realise, I start to climb, but with now 70 kilos of fuel, it's not going to do me super well. I'm starting to accept the fact that I'm going to be doing some gliding. So I'm just trying to zoom climb to get enough altitude to get to HOTAS. And I've not been flying regularly or playing DCS for weeks on end at this point. I'm lucky if I get an evening a week, so I'm very rusty. And my scale of the map understanding, if that's even English, it wasn't very good. I thought HOTAS was a lot closer. It looked like it was closing in on the map pretty quickly. It looked like my rate of closure was much higher than it is. But it's not looking good. So as we level out, I've got an idle throttle because I want to retain a bit in case I need it to manoeuvre around the airbase when we get there, if we get there. And I've put the hood into the landing mode because it shows you the velocity vector. That little sort of radar carrot box on the hood is where I'll actually go if I maintain this attitude and speed. So I'm putting it about level with where HOTAS is, and I'm checking my speed, and it's actually very slowly bleeding off, which means that this glide slope is not sustainable, which means that I'm not gonna get to HOTAS, not even close. So whilst I've still got altitude, I'm just scanning around for large settlements because they'll have like major highways leading in and out of them, or that's my assumption at least. But I actually really struggle to find any. I don't know if that's true to life for Syria or not, but things are not looking good. So we're now officially completely out of fuel, and that warning is just going to keep coming back on. So what I eventually end up doing is just turning the battery switch off until we get a lot lower and I need to use it to check that the flaps and stuff will come down. So we're doing about 250 knots, and I'm scanning for roads. And dead ahead of me, there's that big city. Well, I say city, and then off to the left of it, right off my nose at the minute, there's an uphill, very short stretch of straight road. And I think that uphill might actually help me because it'll slow me down a lot faster. Because I'll have to pull quite a lot of AOA to land softly because, as it turns out, my flaps are inoperative when there's no engine running, which is less than ideal. Thankfully the gear still works, even with the battery off. So this uphill bit of road, I'm going to have to dodge the trees. Sorry about the noise. I should really bind the master caution to a button I can press. So I'm a little bit worried about these bushes, but this is looking okay. So we touch down, we pop the drag chute, we use differential braking to follow the road around, and we're gonna live. I was quite proud of that landing. Anyway folks, if you enjoyed that, be sure to leave me a like and a comment. Subscribe if you want to see more. and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.